Hello, friends of the Wheel of Time. We welcome you to our spoiler review for episode 8, The Eye of the World. As I said, this review will contain some spoilers, but only spoilers concerning the episode itself and the bonus material provided by Amazon on your Amazon channel. The first scene, the last episode starts already with some very interesting revelation. We're right back 3,000 years into the past, where the decision was made, apparently in a nursery chamber, that would lead to the eventual breaking of the world and the tainting of the male side of the one source, of the one power. So, very interesting. We learn about the former dragon, the last dragon reborn, about his relationship to a woman who is called, very interestingly, the Tamerlane seed. Not the Amelin seed, the Tamerlane seed. So I wonder what's that all about. And we hear this very interesting discussion that there's already the knowledge that if one reaches out with the one source to the dark one, then that part could be negatively influenced. Apparently, he has no contact or connection to the one source and the true power. No, it's the true power and the one, whichever way. So, that's really very, very interesting. So that was apparently his first chance. So he was attacked by the male side, and at the same time, that was his chance to damage the male side. But of course, on the other hand, it seems like, to a certain extent at least, they were successful imprisoning him in some form or another. But 3,000 years later, that imprisonment seems to, slowly be reduced.
Yeah, so we learned that the Tamerlane seed and Dragon Reborn were a couple, and also, although they managed to imprison the Dark One, they also destroyed the world.
Not they. He sort of.
Oh, he.
Actually, didn't destroy it, but he
broke the world. So this is yeah.
So partly he failed and partly he succeeded. It seems.
Yes.
Yeah. But what I find very interesting here is when we look at this understanding that is being transported. So apparently, this one source is something more of a tool sort of way, that the Dark One can, once he can touch it, and he normally, I would have assumed like somebody like the devil would be like a supreme magic user in classical mythology. You'll find, let's take Mephistopheles as a modern interpretation, who's known both by Christopher Marlowe and Germany's Johann Wolfgang Goethe. He is like a supreme magic user. He teaches magic to the witches. He knows about magic. But apparently, for some reason, we're given this description that the source of all magic, at least all magic that we heard of so far, comes from the one source, and the Dark One has never touched it before this event 3,000 years ago. So that I find the first very interesting distinction. Apparently now, in the scene that we've seen in the movie, he is using magic, it's not even tainted, sort of, even though he appears at least to be male. But maybe it doesn't affect him because he is the source of the taintedness, so to speak. But I find that interesting. So what was his relationship to magic? And then also the understanding that this one source, which, you know, we're at least indirectly meant to understand as something pure, something like the one source, makes you think of some divine source or something like that. And in classical mythology, the idea is typically that the light, they also speak a lot about the light. The light is an important metaphor in the series, which is typically in classical mythology a metaphor for the divine source. And that typically in classical mythology can't be just, you know, tainted by evilness. The typical metaphor that we find in mythology is that of light and shadow, and that always means the source of the light is, if you're talking about good and evil in this sense, that good is the true thing and evil is just the perverted version of it. And even in Tolkien, who is a source of inspiration for Robert Jordan, we have this, you know, good and evil are not equal partners. We have the source, the creator of the world, Ilu Alfadur, who is like the most divine being, and the dark one, who of whom Sauron, as we know in the movies and the book, is just a servant. The real dark one is one of the created beings, the most beautiful originally, just like Lucifer was in classical mythology, or in classical Western culture and thinking. But he was just one of many players, and he was never able to overpower the evilness. The creation of the world in Tolkien, it happens through music, and the evil one tries to weave his own patterns into the music, but they only become part of the whole. They're not ever a real threat in a sense, at least not from the perspective of the supreme divine being. So here we have something that appears at least to be different, that source, that divine source, that divine influx, as it would be called in classical mythology, in Western mysticism, which has its equivalent in the one source, in case of Robert Jordan's version, can actually be negatively affected, and has been affected in its male aspect. So that's, I think, is a very interesting difference.
Yeah, about the corruption of the one source, we have at the end one very or not barely at the end, but in the middle of the movie, I believe, an interesting scene where Rand actually started to channel the source, and we can clearly see the corrupted side of it.
Yeah, it becomes more and more corrupted the more he channels.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting because the Dark One apparently wants to make him use the one source. He wants him to channel, and the more he channels, I guess, we already learned that, the more mad he might become. So by just making him create whatever he wants, the Dark One gets his goal as well, because the dragon is being corrupted.
Yes, but I found it very interesting that we can see that he fights with himself, and at the end he made his choice and decided to destroy the Dark One with such a powerful blast. That was a scene which I found very, very impressive.
Yeah, but we don't know if he's destroyed. I don't think he was, to be honest, from the reaction of Moraine, certainly speaking. we have this cliffhanger where we hear this is probably just the beginning, not the end of all battles. And there was this interesting thing going right to it, where she holds these crystals, which apparently were like the heartstone in the center of the eye of the world. And it was believed it couldn't be broken. And now it is starting to crack. You see these weird cracks after Rand has supposedly defeated the Dark One.
It wasn't the Dark One, actually. It was Ishmael. I think we do not yet know who he is or what he is, but I don't think he is the Dark One.
It's very interesting because in the movie we clearly presented he's clearly thought of as the Dark One. He's mentioned as the Dark One. Apparently, in some of the additional material that we've seen as a bonus material, we may get a different version of this. So we don't really know. Is this was it the Dark One or was it just a servant of the Dark One? But
yeah, given from how the end is, I'd say it's not the Dark One because the battle is still yet to begin, and we see a glimpse of it because there's an army coming from to the west shore. They use the one power, and they create sort of a tsunami. So we'll see much more, and obviously we have not yet defeated the Dark One. So this is my impression, because otherwise we would have seen something different.
Well, I mean, the fact that the Dark One's defeated doesn't mean that some assholes come along the shore and try to conquer a peaceful country or something like that. That's probably not just, I mean, unless you assume that with the end of the Dark One, all evil intentions are gone. But I wouldn't assume, we have no reason to assume that that would be the case. But he's called the Dark One, both by Rand and indirectly by Moraine. So at least we're made to believe that he is the Dark One. He could be a servant of the Dark One, possessed by the Dark One, or anything like that. We don't really know who he is. So in movie, we've never been explained anything other than he being the Dark One. In the bonus material, this figure has already appeared, I believe. You just mentioned the name Ishmael. That was not yet ever mentioned in the movie itself.
That's right, yes.
I want to go too much into it.
But we know something else, because in Faldara, the Dark Forces get the horn. I forgot the name of the horn, but the horn is said to be important for the dragon to for the last battle to have, or maybe not to have, obviously. So this wasn't the last battle. We can deduce this.
Yeah, it was not blown. So if I'm not sure we can deduce that. It wasn't the last battle, but at least if it was the last battle, then they failed to blow the horn. And if we'd say, by definition, it's only the last battle. If the horn is actually blown, then it wasn't the last battle. But that depends on how these details go. So that's very interesting, of course, as well.
Yeah, and what we also saw while they digged out the horn, we also saw again Pat and Fane in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our thoughts that we will see Pat and Fane again, they came true.
Yeah. But there was also a scene with Matt at the end. At the very end, I believe. Wasn't there? Or was that just in the bonus material?
No, we saw Matt, and he returned to that city where he took that dagger from the chest, and we also saw a tower at the end, and I kinda asked myself, what could that tower be? It seemed to be important.
Yeah, it seems like he is kind of going back to that city, either with the dagger or without, and we don't know that, where the dagger came from. So he wants to have more of whatever he got there.
Yeah.
So he may become a maybe he's going to channel whatever power there was associated with that city.
What I also found interesting is that we saw that scene after Pat and Fane said some people will, or I believe it was Pat and Fane who said, he
Some
talked
people will
about,
choose the dark. Some
yes, and
people
then
will choose the dark.
we saw Matt, and I believe you talked about the dagger. I believe Pat and Fane got it now. We had that scene where we saw a dagger with red stone in the in it. Was this the dagger?
It's a good question. I had the same thought.
Mhm.
I wasn't entirely sure though, because maybe it's just a style of dagger. We should probably compare images.
Maybe we got more of one dagger of that kind. This could also be a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So could be either way.
Mhm.
So the question is, what does it do if Fane has it? What does it do to him? Or is he sort of immune because he's evil anyway, or something like that? I don't know.
It seems to be someone not unimportant. We have the impression, or we can get the impression that he's a lot of sort of a leading person for the Dark Friends.
Yes, he's a dark friend, pretty clearly.
Yeah, obviously, but a leading one, I guess.
I don't know. I've not seen that many dark friends, so I don't know who's a leader among them. But here's an interesting thing. It would seem that amongst the darkness there are different fractions, because let's face it, the Trollocs are afraid of entering that evil city. So that means they're not all just working in unison and they go like, oh, we're all evil guys, so we're all buddies. But whatever evil it is that's in the city and that's probably associated with the dagger seems to be not, by definition on the same side as the Trollocs and perhaps the Fades as well. And just a small spoiler I want to present from my reading of the books, which is still not at the end of the first one. So I'm just lifting my hands. Spoilers over when my hands are down. But in the books, it also seems that the Fades are endangered by whatever is in the city. So these two powers are not the same. They're not on the same page. So so that impression is actually even intensified by the books, as I just said. So we don't know what kind of different fractions there are and whether they all, it's not like in Lord of the Rings where pretty much every evil dude serves the Dark One and Sauron, and they kind of work together. But then they also don't work together there. I mean, you see like Uruk-hai and orcs fighting, so at least over food or whatever they consider food. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll learn more about this, I'm sure. So interesting, I found from the persons was Perrin, because he was in a conflict in Faldara. So he does not want to fight, but then again, he does not want to see his friends die or lose them. And so Loyal presents a solution, so he can help with other stuff than fighting. But then we see at the end, so I guess somehow he has to make a choice someday what he wants to do and how he wants to behave regarding using violence or not.
Yes, and he effectively, let's say, he let Pat and Fane get away. I'm not sure he would have been in a power. I mean, he was with two Fades, and we're already learned that they are not that easily defeated. So he was alone. And there was this moment where he passed by the weapons, and as far as I could see, he didn't grab one, even though I first thought he might have grabbed one. In any case, he didn't use one, and he didn't go into a battle. And then there's this philosophy. I mean, it's known that Robert Jordan was at least interested in pacifism, If he was a pacifist himself entirely, I don't know. But there was certainly an idea that he had a lot of sympathy for. Anyway, the advice that Perrin was given to do something else, it kind of only partially works in that scene, because even if he did, other people would still do the fighting for him. So that would only make sense in a context where at least fighting happens, even if he doesn't do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so here we have to make a choice after all, yes.
Yeah, I believe it will become very interesting, because we see a clear conflict in the path of the leaf and his protecting aspect. And we also got that werewolf or that wolf quality in him, so we will see where this will lead us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also see from Nynaeve and Egwene, and at the end when the sister of the Lord of Faldara, she leads them and she falls prey to the one power, but we see the mighty healing powers of Egwene, because she saves Nynaeve from death. And we also see, of course, what happens if the power is too strong for people, so they will burn. We heard that before. So
yeah, that's interesting. We learn more about the power here. And I don't know exactly what happened, but this leading, female channeler, even after everybody, all the enemies were apparently defeated, she was unable to let go of the one source. That's what it looked like to me. Like she tapped into your fuse and can't let go.
Yes.
So Nynaeve shielded Egwene. Therefore Egwene was saved, and therefore Egwene could eventually save Nynaeve. So very interesting. But the other women, and we have a more detailed description actually in the bonus material of Amazon. Pretty much, they were different degrees of being roasted. Like the lead woman was still, she was apparently dead, but not the worst that could happen. Like one of the other women was completely, she was completely black, like turned to coal or something like that.
Yeah, the Lord's sister, the leading woman, she had some training with the Aes Sedai, but she was not strong enough. But so she gathered some power by the other women, but could not control it. And so this is something that Rand obviously made better, because he was able to choose what to do with the one power, although he had not yet channeled so much of it.
So that's an interesting thought. So we have like a main hero who is going to get mad. That's kind of weird. So, I mean, we're still looking for like, what's another 14 books or so, at which like a main figure is going to get more and more mad. So is he going to be replaced by some other main figure, or will we just have a mad hero at the end? And how mad will he be?
So for once, he does not look mad at all. So he seems quite reasonable, but we do not know what comes next. So, and the other five, the Tabaran, we know they have challenges as well, and they will have to choose and have some conflicts and fights to come, as Padal Fain told us. So I guess everybody has their challenges. Even Moraine, she was stilled by Ishmael or by whatever the figure was. She was stilled, she lost her power, and she cannot unmask the bond between her and Lan. So she got the bad cards. so she lost very much everything.
Yeah. Was it stilled or gentled? Is that the same thing?
I think stilled is with women and gentled is with men, but we do not yet know the exact difference, I guess.
Okay. Yes, but yes, very sad. Can this be undone? I don't know. That's a question that certainly comes up. Can this, can somebody undo this disconnection from the one source? Could Ren, perhaps, if he's powerful enough, do that? And but I guess we have the situation where he must be very careful what to use his power for. So he can probably use it a couple of more times, but each time gets him further to madness. So maybe for a long time we will not see him use any form of channeling, maybe only in the most crucial moments, I guess.
Yes, and we can wonder what he's up to, because he leaves Moraine, and what has he seen? Has he seen something that gives him a hint on what to do next? Does he remember his earlier lives as a dragon? So
yeah.
Good
We
question.
also learn a lot of things about his character, even in the scenes leading up to this final battle. So, for example, how he deals with this dream where the Dark One, or whoever it was, I'm just going to call him the fiery eyes guy, even though he changed to human form after that. So, in this scene where he was convinced it was a dream, he basically committed suicide, pushing his sword through his stomach. You need to be pretty sure this is a dream to do that. I mean, you need to be pretty committed, because it wasn't a dream. Shit.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And it was lucid dreaming, sort of. Yeah, if you realize your dream is a lucid dream to you. So yes, he he had a certain risk. And then Moraine said his dreamed Moraine says the same words as the real one, the awakened one. So he awakes. He has a double awakening from a dream, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we learn that this guy has some power on consciousness. He can draw people into other states of consciousness, like dreams.
And there was this other dream with a baby, and I wondered, because there was a prophecy of him holding a baby. So is that fulfilled by him dreaming about holding a baby? Is that already fulfilled? Does it mean the prophecy is done with, and then that's it? Does it mean that still has to happen? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought, because no, it's not interesting because I had the same, but yeah, I had the same thought about it, and as I saw that scene with the baby, the prophecy also came to my consciousness.
Mm.
Yeah, we do not know. Maybe the seer also just saw his greatest wish, because this is his greatest desire, to have family, to have a child. And maybe he fulfilled it in this dreamlike state. Yes.
But if the prophecy just sees your wish or your fears or your anything, then the prophecy really doesn't mean that much,
Yeah, well,
the prophecy sees you dying, then and you're afraid of dying, doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means you're afraid of dying. So that really reduces the
But a prophecy is not the same as a prophecy, we learn, because the one prophecy was made by an Aes Sedai, by Gitara, and the other prophecy was made by a seer, by Min. So maybe there's a difference what she can see, although she claims that everything she sees comes true. But well, then again, how can she know? But
are they different? So the original prophecy was not made by Min.
No, it wasn't. It was by an Aes Sedai called Gitara, and this is in the series, the Amelin seed, and Moraine talked about it.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if the name Gitara was in the series mentioned, or if one of our commentators wrote it. I cannot be sure, certain remember, but is a difference. So there are two prophecies: the one prophecy from Gitara and the other one from the seer Min. So
okay.
And she sees pictures, and these pictures have to be interpreted. And she said, I don't know what child it is. It's any child. There was nothing special about it. So we cannot know. Maybe someone else has a child and Rand holds it, because it will be important in some time to come.
Well, we don't know, but it's interesting. It's interesting to know.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to go back one more time to the eye of the world. This was this. It's apparently a stone, but also in the scene where we see it, there is this this yin yang symbol over it. So I wonder, is that an interpretation of the directors of the show? Is that a symbol that Robert Jordan actually described? Is it that Robert Jordan was interested in this kind of philosophy, so you may assume that's what he thought of? And I'm also just a thought that came to me. Does that actually fit? Because this seems to be a world. It's a fantasy world, but we have a symbol from our world in there. That is a current religious symbol.
But it's a bit different, isn't it? So the other color is lacking. So there's a dot of the other color in each, half, and here it isn't.
Yes, a little bit different. It's not that very different. So on the other hand,
the male inside the female and the female inside the male is just missing because the two powers are separated completely, obviously.
Yeah. On the other hand, it should be mentioned that as a symbol, not necessarily representing, positive and negative, male and female, and something like that. It's pretty universal. You find it in a lot of places, not just in Asia. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring this up. I was a little thinking, are we supposed to take this as a yin and yang symbol, or kind of a yin and yang symbol? How would Taoists or Taoists feel about this? Do they like it? Perhaps, I'm not going to go like, oh, it's cultural appropriation, shouldn't happen. I think that's a bullshit idea very often. But I just want to bring it up because I noticed. They could have had all kinds of symbols for this.
Yeah, so as of yet, we do not know the function of the eye of the world. So Moraine tells us that the Dark Friends destroyed every knowledge about it, and everything that Rand will probably remember might be the only source of what it is and what it does, why it's important.
Absolutely. And I think that's very important information here. So the knowledge was destroyed. So that makes me think there must be something important to know about this place. If the Dark Friends took the effort to destroy specifically that knowledge.
And unfortunately, they do know, because they must have preserved this knowledge, obviously, because it's important. So this is my guess. So we will learn about this later on, I guess. And well, it's only a year or 1.5 years we have to wait for this, at least if we don't know the books. So this is, quite a cliffhanger here. One of many.
Mm-hmm. And I still wonder about cliffhangers. Where will Rand go to now? Because at the end he has chosen to separate from his friends. And another cliffhanger is, for me at least, what kind of army is that we can see at the end? Because they also were able to channel, but their channeler, their female channelers, got some metal plate in front of their mouth. That looked very creepy for me.
Yes, maybe that was just their corona, mouth protection. I don't know. So they could continue shooting the scene during corona. I don't know.
Yeah, but if it's let's talk about 3,000 years in the future, we got a little problem, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think some politicians want us to go that way, so we don't know.
So we have an army here that attacks the West Coast, and they use the one power, and so far we have known only the use of the one power is in the service of the world from the Aes Sedai. So we can wonder here, what kind of service is this? Or obviously from the look, like the skeleton helmet and things, we can deduce, okay, they are not the good guys. So another power arises at the horizon, quite literally.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we need another enemy. If Rand has not completely failed, he must have at least reduced the influence of the Dark One or his prime servant or whatever this Fire Eyes guy was. So then we need somebody else who makes trouble to start with, and then probably during the next season, eventually, the influence of the Dark One can be felt again.
Yes, and then we already know that the blight comes. The blight gets more stronger as the Dark One gets stronger, and obviously some other things get stronger too. So this wasn't the last battle, but the first one, and so this will be the 8 more seasons, I guess. 7 more seasons will be about this then. Yeah, and maybe we see how the others will develop, and so the forces of the good. Maybe we will learn some more forces of the good as well. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So my big question is what's going to happen to Rand? What kind of wars will come from these arriving enemies, and what happens to Matt still is a big question. And what will the others do? Even though the others, they might be just returning to the White Tower and learn their skills, etc. Perrin, I don't know. He might join the Tinkerers. I don't know if that's an option.
Maybe not. I guess maybe he wants this. He might want this, but I guess he has seen too much to go this path again.
That's the real question I have. There's a number of ways this could go. It could be like he wants, and then he eventually becomes a warrior nevertheless. Or goes the other ways. He's constantly tempted until he eventually fully transitions to become a pacifist of some form.
Or some kind of good wolf.
Or wolf, yeah, he turns into a wolf and the whole issue is solved.
Yes. So what I found very impressive was that Moiraine was quite ready to kill Rand. So she had her dagger and at his throat, and so maybe this is also something that Rand is now up to, because now he knows, now he has transformed his desire to have a family and baby and everything, and he knows his job is to do something different, and maybe he is in the same way determined as Moiraine was. So he leaves her, and he knows his path, obviously. I
didn't think so, to be honest. I didn't think he knew his path. I think he just removed himself because he thought he might get mad and he might kill everybody whom he loves. So he just wanted to remove himself, not having a clue where to go or what to do, but just creating as much distance to his friends as he possibly could, especially to the woman he loves. He doesn't stay with Moiraine. I think that their relationship also was pretty cold, growing more and more cold. I mean, the way she asked him, where'd you go? And he didn't really reply to that. It was kind of the same way that she didn't reply to him earlier. He was like asking all those questions, and she was like, yeah, just go on and do your job, basically. Without talking about it.
Actually, if a person puts a dagger to your throat, then maybe you don't want them to have with you for your next steps.
So, I don't know. I mean, I can understand that. And she was determined and she knew what was at stake. And obviously, I think I could even imagine Rand would have said, I mean, certainly Matt did, ironically. So I would, and Rand agreed to this, that he didn't want to be allowed to go evil. So he might have even agreed, before I go evil and harm everybody, and cause more harm on my loved ones, it's better to kill me. I think that's probably not it, but they weren't really on a speaking level in many ways.
Yeah, so there was some kind of distrust from Rand from the start. Still, he trusted her, and then again, now she's of no use probably because she lost her connection to the source. So we don't know.
She's far from being useless. She's a very wise woman, and we'll see more of her. But she will have to redefine herself because now she is not a channeler, a magic user anymore. And whether that is something that's permanent, we are at least have good reasons to believe it might be. But maybe there's a question that goes to remove that. But I think it's not that likely. We haven't ever heard that this being gentled or being stilled can be undone. I don't know about that being possible.
I wouldn't expect it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it either, but I wouldn't say it's impossible. At least we haven't heard that it's impossible also.
Maybe this is something of the prophecy that she got from the seer Min, because she said the Amelin seed would be her downfall. So maybe there's something to come, like if she returns maybe to the White Tower or whatever might happen.
If she returns powerless, maybe they say you're not part of the club anymore.
Yeah, well, she's exiled anyway, but maybe something.
But she could be asked to return, and then whatever. Or it might even be that somebody else is the Amelin seed, and then she has no way to fight them because she's not their equal anymore. So all kinds of problems.
So it's for her, it's tragic. She lost everything. She lost the connection to land. She lost the powers, the connection to the source. So,
and the whole thing didn't seem to be entirely successful, even if they have restricted the Dark One in one form or another. I was even thinking whether that was part of a longer plot, like the Dark One was imprisoned there in the first place, or maybe even that process of the original dragon 3,000 years ago, trying to imprison him was already a trap set that did work for a while, but the Dark One knew he could break free of that eventually anyway. And now they're trying to secure him more in. And in that process, this Heartstone breaks. And the breaking of the Heartstone may be the long-term goal that Rand just has created one more step towards. And, for a total breaking free of the Dark One.
Yeah.
In one form or another. So there's maybe even part of a bigger plan.
So if the Heartstone is part of the seal, so the symbol, yin-yang symbol is the seal probably?
I don't know.
Of
something like that, yeah. So very interesting. What will happen with that?
Yes.
I think we covered almost everything. There's one more thing that I find interesting. We get the first hint that 3,000 years ago was not a fantasy world. It was a sci-fi world with flying spaceships or something like that.
Yes,
it was mentioned. Evolved. It was a highly evolved world with high technology, and with the breaking of the world, that technology apparently is lost entirely, or maybe we'll see some of it eventually. I don't know, but very interesting.
Yes, absolutely. We caught a glimpse of what was and what maybe will be again.
Maybe, yes.
So maybe this is not just technology, but also the use of the power. So we'll have to wait for this.
Awesome. So any last thoughts of what you're looking forward in the second season?
Well, I'm very curious how the persons develop, and so that it seems to me that they have some personal tasks to solve, just like Rand did and will have. And of course, we will have lots of battles, obviously. So, yeah.
Yeah. Seems war is becoming a big thing, and who is fighting in what battle and who is getting what training for that. That will be a big thing. And who ends up on what side? thinking about Matt.
Yes, and we learn quite a lot more about this world of the Wheel of Time. So we already got some glimpses, but there are so many more nations, many more powers.
More cultures we'll get to know. Yes, wonderful. I think I'm looking forward to that as well. And also to understand, hopefully, how does exactly this one source work.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm also very interested in the different factions we will encounter in the future. What will happen to Matt? What are those new ship guys who are willing to destroy the continent with a tsunami? And what will happen to Rand? And especially what happens or will happen to our other heroes? There's very much open in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's so many interesting questions to ask. And I'm now curious, what did our viewers see that we missed? What are you interested in, what you're looking for? What are your questions for season 2? Please let us know in the comments. Please subscribe, hit the bell for more awesome videos, not only about season 2, but also about the upcoming Game of Thrones series and various other series. We'll inform you in the channel news. So there's a couple of more things and also some general questions about fantasy, sci-fi tropes, about how magic is being used and presented in different sci-fi, in different fantasy universes, and a lot of interpretations and discussions about those, many interesting topics. So please support our young channel and be part of the fun. Looking forward to see you in our next video. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.